Welcome to Spotlight, a show about arts and culture in Marin, where we feature current events as well as seeking to understand what they mean for us as individuals and as a community. My name is Emily Murotake, and I am part of a team working with the show's creator, Marin artist Susan Pascal Beran, to bring you these stories. Our pilot show features Native American activist and resident Miwok descendant Lucina Vidauri. She has agreed to take us on a tour of her ancestral home here in Olompali State Park. She will talk to us about what recent event means to her with regards to protests for racial equity in this country. She is a guardian of her culture, an advocate for changing the name of Sir Francis Drake Boulevard, and an organizer for the Marin Coastal Miwok Monument Project. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Let's get started.
All right.
Basically, at some point, they were primitive people. They were pre-paleo. You might have heard the term paleo. Yeah. And paleo would be before the Miwoks. And so, but even if I descend from the Miwoks, I descend from the paleo as well. Because, because the Miwoks sort of evolved out of the paleo. I think of the paleo people crossing the Bering Strait. Well, they're pushing that back and back more now, too. It used to be 10,000 years, and now they're saying 13,000 years. So, as a result of being one of the last families, we have the pleasure, or whatever, the privilege of having our picture there. And so that's my father, and this is my family. That's me in the middle.
Is he right there?
Yeah, in the middle. That's my kids and my grandkids.
Oh, wow.
And my father on the left. And basically, it's saying that we're still here.
Mm.
Basically what happened was they granted my grandfather 8,888 acres, which is a lot of acres here, and it wasn't long before the tax guy came knocking at the door and said that, and reassessed the land and kind of had to buy it back, and he got a deal. I think he bought 5,000 of them back. When I grew up, I used to see the original document signed by Abraham Lincoln that he honored the grant deed. The document came up missing in the year 2000 by one of two people that visited my father, and I'm not sure which one, but it's not there. So, but there is another original because, like I said, they made multiple originals back then, like we did. They made multiple originals. So there's another original of the grant deed signed by Abraham Lincoln. They told me probably to check in Washington, and I can probably get it. So I'm working on that. Olompali was one of the main central trading places of all these tribes. Olompali, this was one of the main villages right here. It was one of the biggest villages and the oldest villages and one of the main villages. People came from all over trading. In this area, this is why they were here for thousands of years. They had all the bay, they had the ocean, they had deer, elk, squirrel. I mean, they had everything here. They were set. They had a wonderful life. They never, the weather's perfect. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's reasons why this place is so desirable, even back then. Location, location, location. I mean, I can't tell you, I got this picture 2 years ago, and I can't tell you how excited I was. I cried. I mean, to finally see a picture of them. I was a little disappointed about, the Navy outfit. I want to see one of them, and I know that other tribes in all over, a same era, have their traditional Native American regalia on the same time. More so, I guess, maybe in Sioux and Navajo nations. Not so much here because it was more dangerous to be a Native American here. It was really dangerous. You could get killed and the white people would get away with it. It was soon after that that the 49er pioneers convinced them to sell Olompali and move the daughters along with whatever tribe was left north for a couple hundred miles in wagons and founded a town called Hopland, California, where my Maria and Maxima, they're all buried there. I go to the graveyard. They have a grave. Their headstones are plaques that are worn off. Some of them are just the white crosses. It's a mess, and it's another project of mine. I'm going to have to fund to get all the headstones. You know, hopefully in my lifetime I can do that, because really nobody in the family goes there. Nobody knows about it in this family. In 1850, when the Europeans came, they were gone within 20 years, and they didn't know they were going to be gone, but they were within 20 years. I'm 60 years old. 20 years is not that long. They were gone one way or another. Disease. We had our own Trail of Tears. It was illegal to kill an Indian.
Yeah.
That's right.
So as a result of that, they didn't have time, or they didn't know to document it. They couldn't speak, they couldn't write anyway. So they didn't document it. So what we have here in Southern Marin, I call it, it's Novato, but it's called Southern Marin in the Miwok world. We get from Tamales Bay, Miwok, and Bodega Bay, Miwok. There's two other bands right there. And so we get most of our, how the Miwoks were from them. But to know how they really were, I know that many traditions and customs were lost. Just many. They were not documented. I get calls all the time from people who have inherited, family homes or whatever, and they inherited this stuff, and they don't know what to do with it. One lady, she brought it here. She brought me some stuff, and I'm sure it was ceremonial stuff. And I said, put this in your closet and then just leave it there and don't ever look at it, no? Because, first of all, you don't want to mess with ceremonial stuff, right? And then second of all, who do you give it to? We don't have a museum in Marin. A lot of people say there's a museum here in town. You might know of the Novato Native American Museum. It used to be the Miwok Museum. For some reason, they didn't have enough interest in it being a Miwok Museum. I'm not sure, but they changed it to Native American Museum. So it's a universal, which is fine. That's fine. I mean, and actually they do focus now, recently in years, they are focusing a little bit more on the Miwoks on the lower level, which is good. I don't know where they got these artifacts though, or what, but I just, so we don't have a place. So when I told these people to hang on to your stuff, I'm hoping to find a museum or a cultural center for the Miwoks that we can hang on to, and that will be for generations, future generations, and to preserve the artifacts and hold them forever in Marin County where they belong. Right now they're being shipped off to other tribes. Right now, your findings in Marin County are being shipped off to other tribes. So again, this is another version of that same picture of Maria, my grandmother. She died in 1925, and my father was born in 1916. I started a Facebook page in 2014, and so basically it's all about Marin County. Maybe you visited since then, since I've talked to you, but it says Southern Marin. If you Google Southern Marin, Coastal Miwok, Marin County, you can find it on Facebook. It's pretty easy to find. So a lot of people find me. Well, the family, the children of Maxima, she had 9 children, or 11, I forget which one it is, and she had 2, which is where I descend from. And so for the longest time, I'm like, where are her children, I mean, I'm out there talking about all this stuff. How come there's nobody else? Well, after I formed that web page in 2014, they contacted me, the Willards, because Maxima married a Willard. She married a guy named Henry Willard, and the Willards contacted me through the Facebook page. I was so excited, and as a result of that contact, you can flip it over. I got this picture from them, which the other picture was, these are of my grandmother and Maria and Maxima in the same order. All my life, the only picture I ever seen of these two was this one right here. And I was always like, I wish I had a picture of these girls when they were younger. They produced this picture of them when they were teenagers. And on the right is my great-great-grandmother, that's Maria, and that's Maxima on the left. So when she was about 14, and at this time when they took this picture, they lived here and they ranched on right here. They were ranchers here. They owned cattle, they own horses, lots of it. That's how he was able to get the land grant, because he was farming it. Right. His own people actually were not happy about it, Camille's people, and he was told that he was going to be killed by an arrow. And as a result of that, he buried his $5,000 in coins somewhere on the property here. And my father, I have the petition, he petitioned the city for one day to get permission to bring a bulldozer on the property here, which he did. And he brought it on here, and he dug and he dug and he dug, and where he thought it was in the family legend, but it was not there. So, but he did manage to leave a couple quarters at the bottom of the, before he filled it back in. So, when I started first, really poking around Marin County, I just found out that people, I would ask everybody, do you know the history of Marin County? And most people would say, no. Because people are from other places. They're not from here. So I give them that, okay, And sometimes they would say, oh yeah, the natives lived here, but they didn't know who. They couldn't name who. So I just realized, where's our Miwok memory stuff? Where's our Miwok heritage monuments? Where is our boulevard, Miwok Boulevard? Where's our Richardson? Do you want to hear about Richardson? Okay, that's a whole nother, you guys are going to be busy for a while.
All right, so we're here with Lucina. So, Lucina, the first question I have for you is the cultures of Miwoks. What would be important for residents of Marin to learn from this, and how would you want the people of Marin to honor this history? Thank you for joining, by the way.
Well, it would be important for the people of Marin to remember the Miwoks who were here for so long. And, basically by having things named after the Miwoks, we could have a Miwok Park, a Miwok Bay, Miwok Village. There's lots of ways we can have a cultural day, a cultural center. There's lots of ways to honor the Coast Miwoks that were here. Mainly a cultural center would be really nice. A statue. We're working on the statue. So that's another way to honor the Miwok people.
So how do the Miwok continue today? Kind of like you mentioned before while we were on the tour about the tribe and like how there's still, some history like along over our generation. How would that continue today?
Continue today? Well, I'm basically the last family in the Southern Marin Band. There has been a group of about 6 of us that have met recently who were talking about coming together as one band. They are more from the Tamales Bay Band. You remember I gave you the breakdown? Yeah. But really the culture has left. There's not really anybody here that celebrates it on a regular basis, not in Marin County. I've checked around a lot and asked a lot of people, and really, you could almost say I'm the last to reside in Marin County, the last Coast Miwok. Yeah. But, we hope to change that.
Definitely, by keeping it alive, yeah.
Yeah, we hope by this park here. This park, if people will come to the park, and you didn't get to see the visitor center or Kitchen Rock, but 2 major pieces of history. The visitor center has pictures and has, visuals that you can look at and learn about the history as well.
Nice, yeah. So tell us about the Marin Coast Miwok Monument Project. So who is the artist, what is his name, and what does it represent, and where do you want it to be installed and why? Okay,
so the Marin statue kind of looks like this, and it's going to be about 7 or 8 feet tall. Actually, this is called a maquette. I raised about $8,000 to pay for this maquette, and out of the maquette comes the final version. The artist's name is Will Petite. He's in the little picture here, and he has a studio in Monterey County called WP Art Gallery, something like that. And okay. He's very, he's got other statues erected around the Bay Area. He actually, when I came up with the statue idea, I had scheduled to interview multiple artists, and I asked Will to come here and talk to me about it. about the statue. And, oops, I'm not supposed to do, and Will showed up with this statue, with a mock-up he made the day before. It took him about 24 hours, and Will showed up, and I described to him what I wanted, and he showed it up with this statue, and I just fell in love with it. I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
And the way he described it, he came in and described it to me right there in the visitor center, and he basically said that, the Father is strong, they're strong, happy people, and they're reaching up and they're basically saying welcome. And the little girl has a basket full of acorns, and the acorns is what the Miwoks would have in their baskets. And so this is a little Miwok girl. Now the family, the faces on there are made with features and characteristics of my family pictures. I showed the artist my family. And so this one kind of looks like my son a little, right here, the girl actually. So that's how he came up with the picture. And when he came in and when he brought it, I said, that's the statue I want. And I had to cancel the other interviews with the other artists because he nailed it. He totally nailed it. And I envision it being in Sausalito, where the ferries come in, just greeting the people, saying, welcome to our land, and inspiring visitors and local people to go home and learn it and Google it and learn about the Coast Miwoks. That's what it's going to inspire people, young and old. So basically, basically finding a home for the statue is not going to be the hard part. I've had 3 or 4 different people approach me, and I know that any city would love to have it. What I got the idea was from visiting multiple cities around the Bay Area and various parts of the country, and I noticed that a lot of them have local Native American statues in their downtown area. Where's Marin's Miwok statue? That's why I came back. I said, wait a minute, where's our statue? We've got Sir Francis Drake statue, we've got Sir Francis Drake Boulevard, we've got Richardson Bay, where's our Miwok names? And so then we came up with the statue, and he nailed it, and we want it to be in Sausalito. I've talked to them a little bit. They have not slammed the door on my face at all. They haven't told me no. I've talked to the park guy and everything. Sorry, I just want to tell your mom all this. She would understand it. Yeah. But they have not. So, that's where I'm hoping. If not, maybe Tiburon, maybe Black's Point, maybe San Rafael. But I'm hoping there. And we might even have multiple statues. I've heard of people wanting multiple statues. Maybe we'll have one in Point Reyes.
That would be great.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you need to have to be done to make this happen, and how can folks make this happen in general to, kind of what we've been touching base on? So I've been having gatherings. We've been working on this project for maybe about 2 years now. And what I have done is I started having gatherings where I would have people attend. Last one in San Geronimo, I had over 100 people there. And basically, we don't want to nickel and dime people to death. We'd like to have some bigger donors, larger amounts of donors. And so I was actually basically going to be talking to the businesses in Marin County, but then the pandemic happened. And so that kind of changed everything. It changed my strategy. It just changed everything. But basically, I was saying earlier that if we got 200 businesses to pitch in $1,000 each, that's $200,000 right there. And so, 200 businesses is not a lot in Marin County. And so, that's one way to do it. We want to, just get this done. That it's been a couple years now. We've got the maquette. It took me a while. I had to fundraise for that. And I got that, the maquette. Now now it has to be scanned. The maquette has to be scanned. It's about this high. And then once it gets scanned, then the final bronze statue goes to the foundry in Berkeley, and they finalize it. We actually toured the foundry as well. But it's just going to take a collective community effort, which, mainly it was going to take personal contact, to collect the funds, but now with the pandemic, it's changed everything. So I'm thinking online, and so we have been having Zoom meetings. I had one last week. There were 30 people there. Just get the word out that we need the funds. We're at that point. I've got the GoFundMe page. I've got a nice website, and just to let people know, and a lot of people have been supported. We've gotten. I think we've got
I'm going to say about 60 donors so far.
Nice.
60 people, donated various amounts of money. So
that's great, yeah. And people definitely should get the word out there, especially with what's going on right now and everything you've been saying about this. So people need to know.
Right. We need to have a statue here for future generations. And for people, when they come visiting, then they'll know the first thing they'll see is a Miwok statue, and they'll know that this is Miwok land. They need to know that right away. And, and then 20, 30 years down the road, they'll have, this statue, and it will inspire them to be curious who they were and and Marin County will have our statue like other counties do, know. So it actually started out to be a $10,000 statue. I actually had something a lot more simpler in mind, but when he got done with it, it turned into a $250,000 statue. But it's beautiful. It's just, everybody that has seen it, it's breathtaking, and you can see it on my website too as well. So the pictures of it. So. But Will is a very talented artist. His mother took him to the powwows when he was younger, and so he has a Native American sort of spirit in him, from that. So I feel real confident in our artist and everything and the project. I'm a little discouraged because of the pandemic. It's kind of put a hiccup in the whole thing, but hopefully we can get back on track.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
As the discussion over statues of historical figures heats up in the Bay Area, some residents in Marin County have Sir Francis Drake in their crosshairs. Both the naming of the major boulevard and the 30-foot tall statue with that title near the Larkspur Ferry Terminal. KCBS's Megan Goldsby has the story.
Well, calls for the removal of a statue in the North Bay turned ugly tonight when a protester you can see there jumped on the hood of a car as a driver tried to get away from a demonstration happening in Larkspur. That dangerous scenario unfolding on scenic Sir Francis Drake Boulevard and its connection to the slave trade and a 16th century explorer.
Whenever I read about Drake and he traveled around, he thought nothing of slicing an Indian and then stepping over his body and continuing on down the trail. He thought of them as animals. He had no regard for other humans.
This is Sir Francis Drake. This man was a murderer, a rapist, a killer.
Several Native Americans in the group are pushing for the boulevard to be renamed for the Coastal Miwok, the people Drake encountered when he landed.
I have asked many, many people in Marin County what they know about the history of Marin County. Many of them can't name the Native Americans, and if they do say Native American, they can't tell you which one. I believe he did kill a lot of Miwoks, and I believe that's probably why there was such a dent, because there's a hole. There's somewhere where you go, there was thousands of Miwoks, and now there's not, and personally, I think that Drake did kill him. He thought nothing of him. But will the people accept it? They haven't learned it. It's nowhere, really solidly written, at this point, but it makes sense to me. It would make a lot more sense than him not touching anybody or hurting anybody.
All right, welcome everyone to the regular meeting of the Larkspur City Council on Wednesday, June 17th, 2020. It's now 6:30 p.m. We've heard a lot of correspondence about Sir Francis Drake and the use of his name on one of Marin County's most prominent streets, as well as the statue waterfront in Larkspur Landing. We have heard from people who want the name of Sir Francis Drake removed from the boulevard and the statue taken down. We have also heard from people who believe that the statue is public art and should remain where it is. So we've thought about this a lot and think that these topics deserve their own forums. The urgency item on this agenda tonight, which is 8.1A that we'll discuss next, is our contribution to forming a working group to hear from the community about the name of Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. We anticipate that a public meeting on that topic will be scheduled and announced shortly. The next step as a city council is to schedule a special meeting devoted to discussion about the statue. We are comparing calendars to find a suitable date in the next week or two for that meeting to take place.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Yavar Midi. I'm a community organizer here in the county. This statue is a symbol of white supremacy. We were involved in the successful campaign to remove the nod to the Confederacy, the Dixie name, in another part of Marin County. So when we talk about the Miwok, Marin County, Marin is the name of Chief Marin, the baptismal name given to Chief Hwikmuse, which was a Miwok chief that resisted the Spanish imperial conquest of Marin County and was baptized at the mission in San Rafael and also spent time at the mission in San Francisco. You guys want to talk about let's find other people? Well, the Mount Tamalpais room in his library, people like Lucina Vidauri, Olompali, all of the information exists about the Miwok. The people exist because there's no longer a time for us to debate about it. The debate has been going on for 155 years or since Marin County was incorporated. Now people are saying, oh, that Black Lives Matter and these other national movements are bringing it to the fore about the structural inequity. Well, don't worry, we're moving on those fronts as well. But these symbols to white supremacy must fall.
And a statue some consider controversial has been removed from Marin County. That statue of Sir Francis Drake has stood near Lake Spur's ferry landing for decades, but this morning it was removed.
That statue that you mentioned was of Sir Francis Drake. He stood with a flag planted in the ground as well as a sword. But if we take a look over here, that statue is gone and it's nothing but gravel. That's because the Lake Spur city manager removed it after protesters with a rally planned tomorrow said they would tear it down themselves if it still stood. Now, the city